Welcome back to another reading and correcting with me, Kinder, the Tiger Writes, and Ty, the Tiger Supervisor. These are where I read a chapter from one of my stories and correct it as I go. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch and YouTube. And if you are looking to support me, that is on my Patreon. Today, we are doing chapter 27 of The Captain's Heart. Gralgiran, the seriousness of Query Gral, tone woke him fully. So, I have realized I made a mistake. Well, I forgot a detail about how names work within Kelsirian society. Everyone has a long name. Um, and usually titles are used. And addressing someone by name involves means a certain level of equalness. Not necessarily real, but between two people. In this case, Gralgiran is the captain of the ship. Quericregral is the ambassador, so that puts them, technically Queric is above, but that puts them somewhat equal, so they use their full name back and forth unless there's a need to use a title. Shortening of the name implies a level of familiarity between the people. So, and I forgot. Well, that did not exist in draft 0. It's a detail I decided to introduce for this draft. And Queric has always been just called Queric everywhere. And that's about where I realized that I was not applying the rules to Queric. And while I can make, like I can establish that some people, some families don't do that, here I don't want to. So yeah. The seriousness of Querigral tone woke him fully. I have to ask that you stay away from Jeremy. The male looked uncomfortable. Things did not go as I had expected. What did you do, Queric? Gralgiran grumbled as he replied to it, only to be sent to the answering system with a note. But a note, the ambassador was sleeping. You don't just tell me to stay away without an explanation, Querigal. Contact me as soon as you wake up. He barely kept himself from adding that he should sleep on a Kelsirian schedule. Okay, there's a but. But even if Querigal was on their homeworld time, it didn't mean they slept on the same shift. What's wrong? Tom mumbled, resting his muzzle against Gralgiran's shoulder. I don't know. Queric's gone and interfered in the god's work. Queric, is it? And this is where I realized what I'd done, because with Gralgiran using Queric's short name, it tells Tom that there's something there. Queric, is it? His friend chuckled, then nuzzled his ear. How about we go back to sleep until he gets up? You can introduce me. Gralgiran turned his head and rubbed his muzzle against Tom. I can't. I need to file a report on the state of the hunt for the Federation Security Council. I doubt they're going to be happy with how difficult the Earthers are making it. Getting up means a shower, Tom said, sounding more awake. I can definitely help with that. Gralgiran touched the end of the reservoir, turned and pushed off, surfacing only long enough to take a breath, then was under the water again, kicking himself forward. When he surfaced again, he glimpsed the people in the shallow end, then was under, kicking and letting himself drift until the bottom rose, and he pushed himself along with his head. Pushed himself along until his head was above water. When when it where and then is there a den in there? Yeah. Then he used his hand to walk himself until he had to stand. He slicked his mane out of his face and stepped out, intent on sunning himself before doing another lap. Although, um, yeah, there's no although. There was no sun or sand in the reservoir room, only the heat simulating the one and lounger in place of the other. He paused his plan on seeing Quirigral walking among the lounger. Despite his annoyance at the male, he couldn't keep from taking him in. The long fur moved by the artificial breeze, the green eyes not hiding his worry, the heavy balls and penis visible through the shorter groin fur. Did he trim? Gralgiran supposed it made sense with long-furred Kelsirian if they wanted to display themselves. The pertinent question was, had the male trimmed hoping to distract him? Ambassador, Gralgiran greeted him coolly. Can we? Gralgiran hesitated, took a breath. Can we simply be two males, two friends, sunning ourselves for a few minutes? I'd forgotten how much I missed this until now. I contacted the bridge when you weren't taking the call. They told me you'd be here. He'd need It needed to relax after writing everything that had happened. At least it was going to the Federation, not the Kelsirian leadership. They would only care about the situation with Girani and the civilian hacker as it pertained to the hunt, not some assigned worth to be used in the leadership's next attempt at taking the Bane from him. Don't expect me to be too patient, Quertic. Not after the cryptic message I woke up to. I will explain, Gral. I just want a few minutes. The male sat on the lounger, and Gralgiran couldn't take the dejection. He sat next to him and pulled him close before reclining. Quirigral rested his head against Gralgiran's chest, a finger tracing formless lines in his stomach fur. I didn't think it would turn as it did, he finally said. You thought you could meddle for the gods with impunity? Gralgiran kept his tone neutral. Regardless of how he felt, he didn't want to make him feel worse. And they made you pay for it. They made you pay for it. I prefer thinking of it as being overconfident in my ability. I'm just an ambassador, not some spy master. Gralgiran nuzzled the top of the male's head. I doubt that being just that makes you the failure you think you are. He licked the base of an ear and Quirigral leaned into it. How about you tell me what happened? Starting with if Jeremy is all right. He is whole, physically. What they did to him has a deeper hold on him than I thought. When I tried to explain what he felt was normal, he responded with anger, kept telling me he wasn't sick, that all he had was stress. The idea he might be sick shut down his ability to reason. It was completely irrational. Well beyond what subliminals should be able to do, according to what I read. He looked up, hopeful. Gralgiran shook his head. I'll have to ask one of my betas who do spy work. I just know that subliminals are a thing and that they can be used to affect moods. Quirigral rested his head back on his chest. I don't know why, but they're targeting him. Every public area I visited without an escort was bathed in subliminals, but it is much more intense in his quarter. Why? He growled. I can't figure it out. I think it's in part to suppress how he feels about you. He knows me? Hope flared. I don't think so. And deflated. But he has an attraction to Kelsirian males. He found drawing he did when younger, and one of them depicted him having sex with one of us. It's why he came to see me. He cannot accept it's him. When his mind turned in that direction, it forcefully it's forcefully redirected. Yeah, I'm gonna go. It is forcefully redirected by pain. Could they know he's my heart? I've brought the subject of belief with the commander when I last saw him, and he scoffed when he told me Earther didn't have belief because they had science. Okay, my co-scriptor pointed out that reason is a better terminology than science. When I write, I don't. I'm a pantser. And I don't really, I will take a moment to sort of get the right word or as close as I can, but I don't really worry about getting the wrong one. In this case here, I didn't even think, I just wrote science because, it felt like a decent counterpoint to belief, to religion. And he pointed out in his comments that, reason is a much better terminology for what I'm going for. Because he told me Earthers didn't have belief because they had reason. He believed it. I've managed to bring the subject up with those who escort me, and while not as harsh, their thought on the subject mirrors that of the commander. They don't believe in their gods. The others seemed. Gralgiran couldn't remember ever thinking a species so alien. Even the Radoshi, with their nearly incomprehensible thoughts, had gods. A multitude of them, nearly one for each Radoshi alive, he remembered reading. Gods were part of everything. How could the Earthers not believe in those who had made them? Then who's meddling? I think it's just regular meddling, although I have no idea why they do that. What do you need to help him? Gralgiran looked up at him. Didn't I cause enough damage? They are doing this to him. Not his god. Not his gods, them, his people. You miscalculated, but your hunt hasn't failed yet. It won't unless you give up. He smiled. I don't think you like the taste of giving up. Gralgiran's expression became pensive. Something to block the subliminals in his quarter. If there's a way, Zarfiel will know, or know who has that morsel, he said, pulling Gralgiran with him. Let's go find her. His bracelet, when he took it from the locker, blinked with the code of a message from command. Gralgiran here. What happened? He asked instead of checking what they'd left. Captain, the female said, I thought you'd like to know that the Earther engineer is on the ship. I thought he wasn't coming. He didn't explain. He simply walked on 2 hours ago. Thank you. Gralgiran pulled his pants from the locker, but Gralgiran took his arm. Don't go. Their conversation returned to him, along with the annoyance that Gralgiran was responsible, in part. Fine. He pushed the mail toward the shower. Then you are going to have to distract me from this need to go see if he's okay. While surprised, Gralgiran's expression was also one of eagerness. The sounds Gralgiran heard had no business coming from one of the cells, the female cried out, and he sighed. When he entered the cell block, he wasn't surprised to find Xenial on his knees, head between the female's legs, with her holding it there hard enough. He wondered how it was she wasn't pushing him inside her. She cried out again, her orange and gray fur rippling with a shudder. Hunter! To her credit, she shoved Xenial off and stood at attention. Unfortunately for her, she was down to the fur. Down to the fur, wet and matted. Xenial rolled onto his back, displaying his slick erection, and grinned. I was here to let you out, Xenial Herr Tahalan, as thanks for the dubious help you provided, and if you give up the hacker you employed, I still will. The male stood and stretched, and Gralgiran cursed himself for taking in that body. Leaner than most, but still defined, definitely attractive, and Xenial was well aware of it, as demonstrated by this naked hunter still at attention. Then he walked back to the bench and sat, spreading his leg invitedly. Go wash up and get dressed, he ordered her. Then get your beta and we are going to have a talk about what it means to watch over a prisoner. Yes, Alpha. She grabbed her clothes and left. He glared at the male. If I get a Redoshi to guard you, will I be wasting my time? Xeniel smiled. That depends. If the point is for me not to be able to convince them to have some fun with me, then yes. Gralgiran couldn't stop the disgust as he imagined the male with the alien, and Xeniel laughed. Fun doesn't have to mean sex, you know. Although, give me access to the right chemistry and I can have one of them chittering to their gods to come take them. Why do you do this? Because it's fun. You don't stop and I'm going to have to throw you off the ship. The male shrugged. That was the... You know what, that's a different... that was the problem with those so favored by Xenila Haran. They didn't fear things going wrong to the point that it eventually killed them. He'd known a few in his career as a hunter, but none who seemed to spend so much time in that god's bed as Xeniel. He reactivated the force field that imprisoned the male. I'm setting you on a remote guard, he said on his way out. You know I love a challenge. Gralgiran forced himself to continue. The male was just saying that to infuriate him, and it was working. And that concludes chapter 27 of The Captain's Heart. If you are enjoying this, please leave a like. If you want to know when the next chapter is going to be up, subscribe and hit the bell. If you want to read this story, it is available on Ream's Story. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. Links are in the notes, and with that, I shall wish you a good day.